welcome to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I am Eric. Got a single malt Scotch whiskey chat about today. Longmorn, 16 years old, from the Speyside region. As always here on the channel, you can expect a nose, taste, finish review of this whiskey coming your way. I will tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts, a final score, and leave you with a malt musing. Before we do that, take a second and hit that subscription button. I would definitely appreciate it. It will make sure that you do not miss these whiskey reviews, which drop every Friday here on YouTube. I also have a Tuesday happy hour every Tuesday, 8 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern time. Would love to see you there in the chat with the good people. All right, Longmorn, 16 years old. This comes out of the Speyside region of Scotland, as I mentioned. Longmorn Distillery, not a distillery you can really visit, and primarily a filler whiskey. And what do I mean by that? It is the, I think, majority composition of what makes up Chivas Regal. At one point in time in history, that might have been something to say with accolades, perhaps not so much these days. But they do put out a single malt among a couple other ones, and this a 16-year-old. And this 16-year-old whiskey, the tale of the tape here is, it is as aged in oak casks for 16 years, 48% ABV, non-chill filtered. All good things. Unfortunately, it does not say anything about color. So maybe they have added some fake color to it. I don't know. But that 48%, the 16 years, the non-chill, I'm digging that. Another thing just to mention here, it says that it is matured in 3 types of oak cask. Well, do you think they tell you what those 3 types of oak cask are? Not on the box. Maybe inside on this fancy bottle. Nope. You have to go to the internet to find that information out. And what you will find out is that it is first fill American oak. It is ex-sherry, and it is European oak. Something to note about this. They had a 16-year-old up until, I believe, 2016 when they reformulated this to its present incantation. The previous one had a little bit less of the bourbon cask. So, you know, there are some whiskey purists out there who maybe don't think this is quite what it used to be, but nonetheless, this is what they're putting out these days. One thing I also want to just mention, check out this nice kind of rubber bottom. Sits pretty soft. Kind of an interesting little quirk. Okay, it is a 16-year-old whiskey. So now that we're done with the tail of the tape, we're going to get into the tasting. And I have had this sitting here in the glass for about 15 minutes or so because we want to give a whiskey of this age a good opportunity to present itself here in court, the whiskey court. And so we want to give it a minute in the glass for every year in the cask, as good old Ralphie Mitchell would say. This is the color we are looking at. It is perhaps not a natural color, but that's what it's looking like. Longmorn, 16 years old, on the nose. Let's get into it. I can tell you right away, this is a sweet, fruity, and slightly oaky dram. In typical Speyside character, lot of orchard fruit, and apple, pear, that kind of thing. A ton of it. It's a bit floral as well. So kind of on the delicate side. This whiskey's really covering everything. It smells rich, but it also has some floral notes. I'm getting some cinnamon, some ginger, pickled ginger. If you've ever been to a sushi restaurant, especially, you know what pickled ginger is. And guess what? This has got a little bit of that on the nose. Fresh wood, fresh cut oak. Not very heavily charred oak. Again, that might be because of the first fill. A lot of that bourbon notes imparting here. And of course, there's that vanilla and cinnamon in the back end. So, sweet, slightly oaky, slightly delicate. Okay, let's give this a taste. Sláinte mhaigh. This definitely carries over into the palate. Medium body. Ooh. That first fill American oak bourbon cask working its magic here on this dram. One more sip and then let's talk about it. Okay. Okay, first things first, medium viscosity. You are met with a nice ripe apple, fruit, pear, maybe even some orange, lemon, sweet and sour on that initial flavor. As it develops in your palate, creamier, caramel, light caramel, vanilla, kind of classic bourbon notes. Then fresh cut wood, so you get a spice, slightly tannic and tart. Notes kind of remind me of like a dry white wine. I also get a bit of honey on that sweet side. Malted milk balls. The chocolate is kind of between dark chocolate and milk chocolate, whatever kind of chocolate you would call that. It's kind of right there in the middle. Medium finish. Interesting. All in all, somewhat relaxed dram till you get to the back end of it, where it does have a little bit more edge, a little bit more spice. But that spice is coming in the form, I think, of fresh oak, fresh wood. Not a lot to be said about cinnamon or anything like that. Maybe there's some hints of, if I really think about it, you know, maybe a little bit of clove, a little bit of anise lingering in the background. This is a very kind of fresh oak. Okay. Let's put some water on it. As I told you in the tail of the tape, 48% ABV on this. I'm going to put 3 drops, maybe 4. Let's do 4. 4 drops of water. We don't want to drown it, but that 48% is curious. See what else we get out of this. Warm ginger spice. Maybe a little bit of raisin, fresher fruits, apple, pear again. Really just this kind of fruit spice. And it's all blended together pretty well, married together, I should say. So everything's working well off of each other. Pretty good balance, except for that fresh oak cask. It's a little bit sharp. Seems to have tamed with water. Let's give it a taste. Still got a nice heavy spice, but I'm telling you now, with the water, that first fill bourbon cask, rounding off those spicier edges, you get the spice, it surges up, then it gets overtaken by this kind of creamy chocolate coffee liqueur. Much chocolatier now with water. Medium long finish. Interesting stuff. Okay. Yeah, okay. Wasn't quite sure if I got that in one of those notes right. The apple, it is a bit more tart. Now, again, that tartness that I mentioned, neat. It's like almost pomegranate-like. Not the sweetness of pomegranate, but that tartness, the dryness of pomegranate. So pretty dry as it goes into the finish here with water. Okay. Longmorn, 16 years old. What's up with this whiskey? Let's talk value. Is this an exclusive whiskey? No. Is this going to be a whiskey that's going to be a serious pain to find? It could be. This isn't going to be necessarily on the shelf at your local big box liquor store. Definitely not at your grocery store. If you go into a more specialty mom and pop whiskey shop, this will probably be the only Longmorn you find. It has that 16-year-old age statement. It is 48%. It is non-shelf filtered. But here in the year of our Lord 2022, the cost of a bottle of this, where just a couple years ago, you're looking at maybe in that 85, 90 range. These are over $100 now, probably in the 120 to 140 range. That is, I think, a bridge too far for this. So I got to knock it a bit on value. Again, see where you're at locally. Maybe you can get it cheaper. If we take an average of $120 as our average shot, I'm going to go with medium low value. So we're going to knock it a little bit for the price. But forget the price. What about the whiskey? Let's talk about that. Final thoughts here on the Longmorn 16. I am pouring another dram of this. As you can see, this has been a whiskey I have really went back and forth on. I've just got to this point in the bottle before I felt like I could do a decent, honest review for y'all on it. And here is what I think. This is a whiskey that takes a classic Speyside, and when I say classic Speyside, let's make it simple: Glenlivet 12, Glenfiddich 12, orchard fruit, little bit of oak cask. This takes that and really shows what it can do at a higher ABV, and also with non-chill filtration. Also, you have the 3 casks, the sherry cask influence and this European oak. It all is working really well together. I quite enjoy this. It's pretty relaxed. I could probably sit and have a couple drams of this a night, and it's not going to be too busy or distracting if I'm watching TV or I'm, just chatting with friends. It'll be a nice, full-bodied dram that's not going to, be the center point of conversation per se. That said, the price on this is quite excessive these days. And I think we can't help but take that into consideration, because honestly, at the end of the day, we all probably have limited funds. I certainly do. So when making a choice, am I going to go buy another bottle of this Longmorn 16? As much as I'm pretty much enjoying it, probably not. And that's because I'm thinking about the Glenlivet 12 illicit still, which in some ways could probably meet some of the moments that I get out of this. Maybe not completely, but similar. And at half the price. The price is really hurting this one, but all in all, a competent, I think better than average Speyside single malt. I wish more of the bigger Speyside distilleries would follow the lead of what Longmorn's doing here and put out something of this caliber, just at a price that's a little bit more affordable. I'm going to sit at a 3.5 out of 5 here on the Longmorn 16, which means I do recommend you try this. And if you do find this at a good price, maybe it's some shop in your neighborhood hasn't changed their prices in a couple years, snatch it up if you like this Speyside character, because this is really delivering that in a very high level. Unfortunately, if it's under that $120 range, you have to really enjoy this. So, find a good whiskey bar, give this a taste. Find a friend who maybe has a bottle, try theirs. If this is your wheelhouse, you'll really enjoy this. If not, this isn't worth the investment, in my opinion. So 3.5 out of 5, a healthy, generous score, I think, because this is pretty good quality. But again, the price is really getting in the way of what I think could be a higher score on this. Let me know your thoughts in a comment below. Have you had Longmorn 16? What do you think of this whiskey? Am I on point on this? Am I totally off? Would love to hear your thoughts. I have poured a second dram of this because I am going to enjoy it, as I do already have a bottle and a little bit left. So look forward to reading your chats. Of course, we'll be back next Friday with another whiskey review. So hit that subscribe button. And of course, Tasty Tuesday is just around the corner in a few days. Hope to see you in the chat. Here's your malt musing. Solange.